Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a goal that's really top of mind for so many people learning English, speaking more fluently.
Absolutely.
We've got some really interesting material here that gets to the heart of what fluency is and, how to actually get there.
Yeah. Fluent English speaking, it unlocks so many doors, doesn't it? And it's fascinating to look at what it really means.
And the best ways to achieve it.
Exactly. Our sources today give us a pretty great foundation for understanding this whole area.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. When we say speaking fluently, what are we actually talking about? Because I think a lot of learners might picture someone,
Perfect grammar. Knowing all the big words.
Yeah, exactly that. Is that what it is?
Well, that's a really common misconception, actually. What our sources emphasize is that fluency is much more about the ease, the smoothness of your speech.
Right.
Being able to express your thoughts without getting sort of bogged down in long pauses.
I'm feeling totally stuck.
Yeah. It's less about reciting grammar rules perfectly or, using super fancy vocabulary all the time.
Okay, so it's more about that natural flow, getting your ideas across clearly. One of the pieces we looked at had a really helpful way of thinking about this.
Oh, yeah, the river analogy.
That's the one.
Yeah, it used the image of a river flowing. And even if there are a few small rocks in the riverbed.
Which are like the smart mistakes.
Exactly. Minor grammatical slips, maybe the wrong word here or there. But the key is the water keeps moving.
That continuous movement.
That's what we're aiming for with fluency, that natural flow.
That's a great visual, actually. So it's the overall ease and momentum of speaking that really matters. And our sources were pretty clear that fluency isn't the same as accuracy.
Right, they're distinct. Accuracy is, of course, about the correct grammar and vocabulary, which is important too,
But for most everyday conversations, it sounds like, fluency maybe takes priority.
For the vast majority of everyday interactions, yeah. Being understood is the main goal.
People aren't usually listening with a grammar checklist.
Not usually, no. People you're speaking with are generally more focused on the message you're conveying than on whether every single "es" is on the verb,
They even gave a really clear example. Remember that sentence? Yesterday, I go to market, I buy apples.
Yes. Grammatically, it's definitely not right.
Should be went and bought.
Right. Yesterday, I went to the market and bought apples. But the crucial thing is...
You understand it perfectly, instantly.
Exactly. And the source pointed out that if someone says that first version, yesterday I go, but they say it quickly and confidently.
It can still come across as fluent communication.
Precisely. That clear, confident getting your thoughts across, that's the real objective.
So if you're listening and maybe holding back from speaking because you're waiting for your English to be perfect,
Don't wait.
the key takeaway right here at the start is just jump in. The more you practice speaking, even with those little rocks in your river,
The smoother your flow will become over time.
yeah, fluency develops through the act of speaking.
Not just through studying the theory.
Rich.
Which naturally leads us to the next question, doesn't it?
Which is?
What are the common obstacles? Why is fluent speaking such a hurdle for learners? Why do so many people feel like they're just hitting a wall?
Exactly. So many learners have this goal, but they feel, well, stuck. Let's explore some of the main challenges our sources identified. The first one, and I think almost everyone can relate to this,
I know this one.
is the fear of making mistakes.
Yep. It's a very, very understandable feeling. The thought of sounding incorrect or, maybe being corrected in front of people.
It can be quite intimidating.
It really can. But as our material points out, making errors is just an inherent part of learning, a valuable part, actually.
That's a good point. Even native speakers mess up sometimes.
All the time. We misspeak, use the wrong word, stumble over sentences. It happens.
And the sources really highlighted that mistakes aren't failures. They actually show you're engaging with the language.
You try them, you're stretched.
And therefore, you're growing. So that fear really shouldn't be the thing that silences you.
Yeah, easier said than done sometimes, but crucial. Okay, another big factor holding people back is the feeling they just don't have enough vocabulary.
Right. The idea that you need thousands and thousands of words before you can even start speaking comfortably.
But here's some encouraging news from our sources on that front.
Go on.
You don't need a massive vocabulary to achieve a good level of fluency, especially not right at the beginning.
So what's more important then?
Using the vocabulary you do have effectively and focusing on gradually building from there.
Okay. So using simple words clearly is better than trying to use difficult words and getting them wrong.
Absolutely. Being able to use a smaller set of words clearly and confidently contributes way more to your fluency than knowing lots of complex words but struggling to actually use them in a real conversation.
Okay, that makes sense. The next obstacle our sources brought up is something I know I've definitely experienced learning other languages.
Let me guess. Translating in your head.
Bingo. Thinking in your native language and then trying to translate it word for word into English before you speak.
Ah, yes. The mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
And that process, that translation step, you can really put the brakes on your speech.
Just slows you right down.
Takes time. And it often results in English sentences that sound a bit unnatural, maybe a little stilted.
Yeah, the word order might be off, or the phrasing just isn't quite English.
Exactly. So the real key to unlocking fluency, according to our sources, is starting to develop that ability to think directly in English.
Which sounds hard, but I guess it cuts out that extra step.
It does. It's a game changer. Another key challenge, and this one seems almost obvious, but it's so common.
What's that?
Simply not getting enough actual speaking practice.
Right. It's easy to spend hours on grammar apps or flashcards.
Which have their place, of course.
Well, but neglect the actual speaking part.
Indeed. One of our sources used a fantastic analogy for this, comparing your speaking ability to a muscle. If you don't exercise it regularly, it won't get stronger. It's the same with speaking. The more you actively do it, the more that muscle develops.
Leading to more confidence and more fluency. Makes sense.
And finally, the last major hurdle our sources pointed to is something very personal.
Which is?
Self-doubt.
Yeah.
Lack of confidence. Those feelings of shyness, maybe embarrassment, or just thinking, oh, I'm just not good at this.
Yeah, I imagine many listeners can identify with that feeling. It's easy to feel inadequate.
It's a very human experience.
Oh.
But it's so important to remember that confidence in speaking is built, well, it's built through speaking.
It feeds itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone starts somewhere. Even those people who speak English incredibly well today were once right at the beginning.
Probably feeling just as awkward or unsure as you might feel now.
Absolutely. They weren't born fluent.
That's really encouraging to keep in mind. So, okay, now that we have a better handle on why fluency can be challenging, let's pivot. Let's turn to the practical advice.
The solutions.
Yes. What specific tips do our sources offer to actually start improving your spoken English fluency?
Okay, yeah, our sources are packed with actionable strategies here. And a foundational one that comes up again and again is this. Make a conscious effort to practice speaking English every single day.
Every day. Wow, that sounds like a lot.
It doesn't have to be hours. The emphasis is really on consistency. Even dedicating, say, 10 or 15 minutes each day just to speaking practice.
It adds up.
It really does. It accumulates and leads to noticeable improvements over time. Consistency is key.
And you don't necessarily need a conversation partner for this daily practice.
Not always, no. Our sources suggest various solo practice methods, things like talking to yourself.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah. Describing your surroundings out loud in English. Verbalizing your thoughts. Okay, now I'm making coffee.
Or even having a chat with your reflection in the mirror.
Exactly. I know it might feel a bit weird at first.
Maybe a little bit.
But it really helps you get comfortable with the physical act of forming English sounds and hearing your own voice speaking English. Lessens the shock factor when you do speak to others.
Okay, I can see that. What else?
Another highly effective technique highlighted in our material is called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, what's that?
It involves listening to a short segment of spoken English, maybe from a video, a podcast, something like that, and then immediately repeating what you hear, trying to mimic the speaker's rhythm, their intonation, as closely as you possibly can.
So like being their echo.
Kind of, yeah. The sources explain it's a fantastic way to internalize the natural flow, the pronunciation patterns, even the speed of native English.
How do you start with that?
They recommend starting small, just a sentence or two at a time. Listen, pause, repeat. Focus on replicating it.
And don't worry if it feels strange.
Not at all. They reassure listeners it might feel odd initially, but it's a really powerful way to build those crucial muscle memories for speaking.
Okay, daily practice, shadowing. What's tip number 2?
Tip number 2 directly tackles that translation issue we talked about earlier.
Thinking in your native language.
Yeah, exactly. The tip is actively work on starting to think in English.
Okay. How do you even do that?
It's about consciously switching your internal monologue. So even for simple, everyday thoughts, like instead of thinking in your first language, oh, I need a drink of water.
Make the effort to think it in English. I need to drink water.
Precisely. You can practice this during routine activities, when you're walking, cooking, brushing your teeth.
Just narrate what you're doing in your head.
Yeah, or what you're seeing. I am walking down the street, I see a blue car. It might feel a little forced or silly at first,
I can imagine.
but our sources assure us, with consistent effort, it becomes more natural. And it significantly boosts your ability to speak more directly, more fluently in English.
Right, cutting out that middleman, the translator in your head.
Exactly. Okay, tip number 3 focuses on vocabulary, but in a specific way that supports fluency. Learn useful phrases, sometimes called chunks or collocations, rather than just memorizing individual isolated words.
Chunks, like pieces of language.
Yeah, groups of words that naturally go together. This is so important for sounding more natural and, well, fluent.
Can you give an example?
Sure.
Yeah.
So instead of just learning the single word hungry, try to learn the whole phrase, I'm really hungry, let's grab something to eat.
Ah, okay. Or maybe instead of just tired.
Learn something like, I'm feeling a bit tired today, I didn't sleep well last night. See how that gives you more ready-to-use language?
Yeah, definitely. Those examples really show how learning these ready-made phrases equips you with practical language you can just plug into conversations.
Right, without having to construct every single sentence word by painstaking word from scratch.
Makes speaking less effortful.
Much less.
Yeah.
Okay, tip number 4 emphasizes the power of imitation.
Imitating who?
Actively imitate native English speakers. Our sources strongly recommend engaging with English language media, movies, YouTube, podcasts.
Things you enjoy anyway.
Exactly. And consciously try to replicate how the speakers talk, their pronunciation, how they structure sentences, the ups and downs in their voice.
The intonation?
Yes, pay close attention to intonation, the melody of their speech and their pronunciation. They even suggest practicing by repeating short segments from shows or videos.
Like acting it out?
Kind of. Try to match the emotion, the tone, the way the words are delivered. It's not just about what words are said.
How they're said.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The sources advise pausing the audio or video, repeating the line several times. You can even
record yourself, maybe.
That leads perfectly into tip number 5.
Ah, good timing.
Tip 5 is make it a habit to record yourself speaking English. Our sources see this as an incredibly valuable tool for boosting fluency.
Why is that so helpful? It sounds a bit intimidating, listening back to yourself.
It can be initially, but think about it. Choose a simple topic, what you did today, your favorite hobby, weekend plans, whatever, and just talk about it in English for a minute or two into your phone or computer.
Yeah.
Then, yes, take the sometimes challenging step of listening back.
And what do you listen for?
The sources explain that hearing yourself provides invaluable insights. You might notice pronunciation issues you weren't aware of, or maybe you speak too fast or too slow, or use too many filler words.
Things you wouldn't notice otherwise.
Exactly. It helps identify areas for improvement in pronunciation, pacing, overall clarity, and another big benefit.
What's that?
It serves as a fantastic way to track your progress over time. Listening to a recording from today versus one from 3 months ago can be incredibly motivating.
Ah, so you can actually hear the improvement.
Yeah, which is great for confidence. So just to quickly recap those 5 key strategies.
What's yelling in?
1. Practice speaking daily. Consistency is vital. 2. Cultivate the habit of thinking in English. 3. Focus on learning useful phrases or chunks. 4. Actively imitate native speakers. And 5. Regularly record yourself speaking.
Got it. And the sources suggest that even just incorporating 1 or 2 of these into your routine consistently
Can make a significant difference to your fluency over time. Absolutely.
All right, now this is fun. Our sources actually provided some specific fluency building exercises for us to try out.
Yes? Time for some active participation.
So we really want to encourage you, our listeners, to join in, even if you're listening on your own, maybe on your commute or at home.
Please do try to speak out loud if you can. Remember, every little bit of speaking practice helps build that fluency muscle.
Don't be shy. Okay, our first exercise is called Quick Descriptions. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to try and speak about it in English for about 30 seconds. Just talk freely.
Ready?
Okay, here's your first topic. What did you do yesterday? Take a moment, think about it, and start speaking now. Go.
Short pause for a listener.
Okay, time's up. Well done. Don't worry if you stumbled or paused a bit, or if you couldn't think of things to say.
Totally normal. That's part of the process. The important thing is that you actually tried speaking.
Exactly. Okay, ready for number 2. Here's your second topic. Describe your favorite food. What is it? Why do you like it? Go ahead, speak out loud in English for 30 seconds. Start now.
Short pause for listener.
Excellent. And as our sources suggest, this is something you can easily make a daily practice. Just pick different topics, describe your room, talk about a hobby, your family, your job.
It's a great way to get comfortable with more spontaneous speaking. Okay, exercise number 2 is called Build Full Sentences Using Natural Phrases.
How does this one work?
I'll give you the beginning of a sentence, a natural-sounding phrase, and we want you to complete it with your own ideas. Out loud, of course.
Okay, let's try it. Here's the first one. I'm really looking forward to. Finish that sentence. What are you looking forward to? Say it out loud now.
Short pause for listener.
Great. Now try this one. The last time I felt nervous was when. Can you finish that sentence out loud? Think about it and speak.
Short pause for listener.
Nice work. The sources suggest maybe writing down these kinds of useful phrases I'm looking forward to, I'm thinking about, I decided to, and consciously trying to create your own original sentences with them each day.
Yeah, actively build your ability to use those chunks fluently. Okay, final exercise for now, number 3. Shadowing.
Ah, the mimicking technique.
Exactly. This involves repeating what we say, either at the same time as us or immediately after we say it. We're going to play a very short conversation. First time, just listen to get the flow. Ready?
Okay.
Hey, how was your weekend?
It was great. I went hiking with some friends.
That sounds fun. Where'd you go?
We went to the mountains. The view was amazing. Okay, got it. Now we're going to repeat that same conversation, but much more slowly, line by line. And we'd like you to shadow us repeat right after each line. Ready?
Okay, here we go.
Hey, how was your weekend?
Pause for listener. It was great. I went hiking with some friends.
Pause for listener. That sounds fun. Where did you go?
Pause for listener. We went to the mountains. The view was amazing. Pause for listener.
Fantastic. How did that feel? As our sources mentioned, this kind of shadowing is a really powerful technique.
And you can do it with all sorts of English, audio, and video content that you find interesting. Just pause and repeat.
Those were fun, actually, and pretty simple to do.
Yeah, and the great thing is you can revisit and repeat these exercises anytime you have a few spare moments. Driving, cooking, waiting.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears slightly now and talk about something that's really crucial for long-term success.
What's that?
How to stay motivated, how to keep going on your journey to English fluency, especially when maybe you feel like you're not making progress as fast as you'd like.
Oh, that's such an important point because learning to speak English fluently, it definitely requires dedication, effort, and yes, patience. It takes time.
It really does. But our sources included some truly inspiring stories of learners who faced exactly these kinds of challenges.
Yeah, real people who felt stuck but kept going and ultimately achieved their fluency goals.
Exactly. The first story was about a guy named Ahmed from Egypt. Okay. He started really simply, just watching cartoons and short YouTube videos in English for about 20 minutes every day. Nothing too intense.
Right.
Initially, he felt quite shy, quite self-conscious about actually speaking, but he made a personal commitment. He decided he would try and describe his day just to himself in English every day.
Just talking to himself about his day.
Yeah. And remarkably, after just about 6 months of this consistent private effort,
What happened?
Ahmed found himself speaking confidently in online English language exchange meetups.
Wow, from talking to himself to online meetups in 6 months. That's impressive.
It really is. And his key, according to the source, was that consistency. Even on his busiest days, he made sure to get in at least 10 minutes of practice.
And it really compounded over time. That's a great lesson.
Then there's the story of Laya from Brazil.
Okay, Laya, what was her challenge?
Her big thing was the translation habit. She realized she was constantly translating everything in her head from Portuguese before speaking English.
Ah, we talked about that barrier.
Yeah, and it made her feel really hesitant and slowed her right down. So she made a conscious decision to focus on trying to think directly in English.
How did she practice that?
She started small, just using short, common English phrases in her head and in simple conversations like, I'm not sure, or let me think about that, or that's interesting.
Instead of translating those simple responses.
Exactly. And that seemingly small shift, focusing on direct English thought for common phrases.
Made a big difference.
Huge difference. Her fluency improved so significantly that she now actually teaches basic English to young children in her community.
Wow. From struggling with translation to teaching,
Yeah.
that really shows the power of changing those internal habits.
Doesn't it? And finally, we heard about Raj from India.
Gosh.
His practice was recording himself. He made a habit of recording himself speaking English on a weekly basis for a whole year.
A whole year of weekly recordings, that takes dedication.
It does. And he admitted listening back to those early recordings, it was a bit uncomfortable. Cringy, even.
I can imagine. Most people don't love the sound of their own recorded voice.
Right. But over time, by comparing the recordings, he was able to clearly recognize the progress he was making.
In what areas?
In his grammar, his pronunciation, and just his overall speaking confidence, he could hear himself getting better week by week, month by month.
That must have been incredibly motivating.
Totally. And Raj shared a really insightful quote that resonated with me. He said, "Don't be afraid to sound silly. Be proud of your effort. That's how fluency begins."
I like that. Be proud of your effort. It really underscores the importance of embracing the learning process, mistakes and all.
Exactly. These learners, Ahmed, Laya, Raj, they weren't perfect. They didn't aim for perfection from day one.
They just have passion, maybe?
Yeah.
And persistence.
Yeah, they focused on consistent effort. And as our sources so encouragingly point out, if they can do it, you absolutely can too.
Fluency is an achievable goal. It happens step by step, one phrase, one conversation at a time.
Precisely. And to help you stay on that path, keep that momentum going, our sources also provided some really concise do's and don'ts.
The quick takeaways. Always useful.
Let's start with the do's, the things you should actively try to do. First, and we've said it a lot, but it's key. Practice speaking English every day.
Consistency, consistency, consistency.
Second, integrate English into your everyday life as much as you can. Listen to English music, watch videos, change your phone language, use English whenever you get a chance. Make it normal.
Good one. Third, remember to focus on communication, not perfection. Don't let the fear of making small mistakes paralyze you. Just keep speaking, keep trying to get your message across.
And fourth, stay positive and try to track your progress somehow, like Raj did. Acknowledge and celebrate those small wins along the way. Hey, I understood that whole conversation, or I used that new phrase.
Those little boosts really help maintain motivation. Okay, now for the don'ts, things to try and avoid. First, try not to fall into the comparison trap. Don't compare your progress to other learners. Everyone's language journey is unique, different timelines, different challenges. Focus on your journey.
Good advice. Second, don't be afraid of making mistakes. We've said it before, we'll say it again. They are a necessary, essential part of learning. Learn from them, don't fear them.
Third, try not to get discouraged and just stop practicing if you feel like your progress is slow. Fluency is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires patience and persistence. Keep showing up.
And finally, don't let the fear of speaking in front of other people hold you back indefinitely. Yes, start small, practice alone, but eventually push yourself. Remember, the more you speak,
the more your confidence will grow and the more fluent you'll become. It's a positive cycle.
So by embracing these do's and consciously avoiding these don'ts, you'll be setting yourself up much better for success on your path to fluent English.
Absolutely. And that, I think, brings us towards the end of our deep dive today into strategies for improving your English-speaking fluency.
Yeah, it does. Just to quickly recap the key insights we've explored today, we clarified what speaking fluency really means.
Right, emphasizing that smooth, natural communication over flawless grammar, getting the river flowing.
We dove into those practical techniques. Daily speaking practice, the importance of thinking in English.
Learning useful phrases or chunks, imitating native speakers, and that really valuable tool of recording yourself.
And we shared some really inspiring stories of fellow learners, Ahmed, Laya, Raj, who navigated the challenges through consistency and a positive mindset.
Yeah, the core message really seems to be, make speaking a regular part of your life. Focus on getting your message across, and view mistakes not as failures, but just as opportunities for growth.
So we really encourage you, listening right now, to take some action today based on what you've heard. Don't just listen and forget.
Yeah, think about it. What's one or two of these tips that feel doable for you, that you could realistically integrate into your daily routine starting, like, now?
What small, concrete step can you take today to start actively building your speaking fluency? Maybe try that quick descriptions exercise again later.
Or find a short English audio clip on YouTube or a podcast app and try shadowing just 1 minute of it.
Whatever it is, just start. Keep that momentum going, and remember that developing fluency is a journey. It's about continuous learning and improvement, not reaching some mythical point of perfection.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Keep practicing, stay encouraged, don't give up, and we look forward to diving deep with you again next time.